We got this. Woo, 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 woo. Music off. Okay, there we go.
It is literally 80 degrees here. Somebody just said it was.
Hold on. Is this? I did do it right. Cool. I'm like, did I? Oh, nope. That was the wrong button to press, Sarah. Full screen. There we go. I did it.
Hey, we're there.
Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We are
Hello.
we are now in the Acotar portion of this read along. We got through 8 Throne of Glass books. We've been taking a big part.
I'll say some of us didn't actually get through all 8 of the Throne of Glass.
Some of us did.
I still 2 more to do.
Let me just say, I love Throne of Glass. Like, obviously, I will always love it. But Mama needs a break. I actually think I know those books better than Sarah does at this point. Like, I think if I were to be like, so Vaughn, and she'd be like, who again? And I'd be like, yeah, that's what I thought when you were.
Well, I mean, it's very clear she forgot who Vaughn was.
Yeah, exactly. But it is really exciting to read Acotar again. And I will say, as a quick preference to this conversation, number one, we will be talking Acotar spoilers. I don't think we'll get much into Silver Flames, but we will definitely at least talk about up to Wings and Ruin, maybe a little bit of Frost and Starlight, nothing too crazy. Yeah. In case anyone's wondering, I'm going to try my hardest to not be the Tamlin hater. I'm going to try to there's a girl at work, I should tell you guys, she's reading Acotar. She knows nothing about it. Like, absolutely nothing. And I have convinced her so much that Tamlin is the love interest. I'm like, he's great. He's a protector and he provides and he will take care of you and he lives in a garden house manor situation. And she's like, well, there's a dark-haired guy. And I was like, no, he's a villain. He's a villain. Yeah. He's a villain.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, okay, before we totally get into this, I did ask them in honor of the book brackets that's been going around TikTok. I did ask for their top 3 favorite books. So I'm going to start with Avery, then go Kate, then Caitlin. Okay. Avery, I'm just going around this way. That's why.
Are we surprised that my number 1 Sarah J. Maas book is A Court of Silver Flames? Are we surprised by that? No. No, we shouldn't be. Because that was my bracket winner. And I've read it way too many times for any sane person. Number 2 is Hosab.
House of Sky and Breath.
Reasons. And then not to leave Throne of Glass out, so my 3rd favorite is Queen of Shadows.
I mean, you could leave it out if it's not your 3rd. That's
but
fine.
I'm not going to because Queen of Shadows is superior.
Okay. All right. Kate, what is yours?
I hate to go right after Avery because we talked about this before, and I listed all the same books, but I was like, I can't tell you, I don't know the order.
That's fine.
Like, because they all have such different like vibes to them.
Yeah.
And then I would say like honorable mention for like Empire Storms and Mist and Fury, but it is really like Hosab, Queen of Shadows, and Silver Flames for sure.
Yeah, I get that. All right, Caitlin, what do you got?
So I would say mine are pretty different from you
That's
guys.
Good.
Love it.
Good.
Mist and Fury's, I mean, I based my whole wedding off of Mist and Fury. So Mist and Fury is just, it's special to me. So that's at number 1.
Okay.
Hosab is a close number 2. Like a very, very close. Like I loved it. And then I would say number 3 is Kingdom of Ash, with my honorable mention being Queen of Shadows. But I love Kingdom of Ash is just such a pretty, like, nice bow where everything just is.
I would agree.
Yeah. So I love Kingdom of Ash.
I would agree. My ranking, which I won't go into this now, I will say it changes depending on what type of ranking you want. Like, do you want my ranking for like what I reread or what I find to be my favorite book? Because what I reread is not necessarily my favorite book, because I've mentioned this before, but I relate too closely to Aelin to the point that I can't sometimes reread Aelin. Like, it's better for me to reread Feyre because I won't put myself in Feyre's shoes. Like, I can just enjoy the story. So, but my number 1 by far is Queen of Shadows. Queen of Shadows is a masterpiece. It's my favorite book, which is why if it was on that bracket, you would have been so surprised. Mist and Fury is my 2nd. It is actually the book I will reread the most, especially because I've done so many rereads of Queen of Shadows. I have to give it a break for a while and do Mist and Fury. And then it's kind of a tie between Mist and Fury and Hosab, to be honest. But I do have to give Hosab some major props for what it did. But that is not the book that I will go and reread. I will reread moments in that book. But I mean, listen, if Hosab isn't in your top 3, it's because you're not paying attention. So that's just my opinion. So that's all I'm going to say about it. And also someone said, and I would agree, I think House of Earth and Blood is Sarah J. Maas's best start to a series.
I
Yeah.
also want to just throw out Tower of Dawn, because let me just tell you, first read, not my favorite. Second read,
yes.
It climbed to like the number 2 spot in my Throne of Glass ranking. Like, it's so good.
And as someone who skipped Tower Dawn, I think the reason I skipped it, well, and I think this is important to say, I think the reason I skipped it was because it was misrepresented to me as a reader. And I think if someone had clarified how important it was and how interesting it was to go into that, I would never have skipped it. But I really think Book Talk, and honestly, we can't really blame Book Talk because that book was out before Book Talk was everything. The internet, for saying it's a Kale book, has misrepresented that book. Like, it is not a Kale book. It is, because he plays a big role. But that's like saying like House of Sky and Breath is a Bryce book when it's not just Bryce. Like, it's, Hunt, Rune, like they all play such a big role. So yeah. It's also like saying Air of Fire is just a Rowan book. Air of Fire is not a Rowan book. You're dismissing Manon and what goes on with Adian and Kale and Dorian. So yeah. Okay. All right. Talking about Acotar. First off, has everyone here tabbed a copy of Acotar? I didn't ask you guys this, but I'm just curious.
I have not.
You don't have a tabbed copy?
I'm surprised, Avery.
Wow. Okay.
I haven't done like a physical reread since I read it the first time. And the first time I read it was the original cover paperback. So I don't want to tab that copy. So, and my one that cover is currently loaned out. So I have to wait.
Okay. Kate and
So
Caitlin, do you guys tab?
I did my original read on like a library loan ebook. So I had nothing with that. And then this reread, I did the graphic audio. So I did try my best to stop, and I did very few tabs when I was like, oh, I got to find it. And of course they don't say the chapter numbers in the graphic audio. So I'm like, where was that? So it's very minimally tabbed, but tabbed enough that if I need to find general areas, I can find it.
Quick note about the graphic audio before I hear Caitlin's answer. I just want everyone to know this. What's interesting about the graphic audio is they don't actually read every word from the book. They pick and choose certain things. Yeah, so if you're sitting with the book and you're reading it, you're going to notice they do skip things because it is a graphic audio and not an actual retelling. So that is something to note about the graphic audio book. Okay, I'm sorry. Caitlin, continue.
I didn't know that. Thank you for telling us that. So when I first read it, it was on the original covers on a softback because back then I didn't care about hardbacks. This was development, right?
Yeah. And
then now my reread, I bought the book bundle on the Kindle, and I'm using the same highlights. I'm highlighting as my tabbing. I'm highlighting in different colors, and I'm using the same tabbing mechanism that I use in Throne of Glass. So yellow is foreshadowing, and then I do pink as possible theory crossover stuff. So that's my, and eventually when I go in for a third time, because eventually it will happen, I will tab physical. It'll take a very long time.
I will say this. I'm somewhat similar to Caitlin when I tab. So first off, the one thing I would say is I always recommend putting a guide in front, because if you're anything like me, you're going to forget why certain tabs have certain things. I also don't recommend tabbing for a new reader. The first time, go in and just enjoy it. Don't tab it. Tab one or two things that you really want to remember, but do not do this. Okay. This is not for new readers. Okay. My tabbing guide is very character driven. So I have Reese is purple, pink is Feyre, important is yellow. So same vibe here. Foreshadowing is blue. This also was tabbed before Silver Flame, so a very soft pink is Nesta, because I wanted to keep an eye on her. And then Tamlin is red because he's a red flag. So that is
I will be stealing that, by the way, when I decide to finally tab my paperbacks, because I I have highlights in my Kindle and stuff, but like I don't have a tabbed physical copy.
My
except for
favorite
Silver
thing
Flame.
ever is when you look at this book and you see the reds in the beginning. And then let me just show you when you get under the mountain, it is all purple. Like it's actually kind of funny to look at from a side. And then the other thing I recommend for tabbers is, and I did it better in Mist and Fury. So I just want to quickly point this out. Sorry, I didn't plan about talking about tabbing, but people always ask. Always use little sticky notes at the very top. These are like my notes to myself to remind me things. Like some of these are really stupid. Like one of them just says, "Oh my God, the tension." That's all it says. That's literally it. Like it doesn't say anything else. But some of them are helpful. Like this one says Rhysand's nightmare. So like I know where his nightmare is.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing, the only thing I tabbed in chapter 55 is this. And it just says Starlight.
Aw.
Because cough, cough, if you pay attention. That's why I tapped it. So people always ask about tabbing. So I think it's interesting when you hear other people's perspective. What's the green cover? It's not green. It's a teal. It just looks green on the screen.
It looks way more green in that lighting, but
It's
I mean, technically,
not.
a lot of people call that book a green book. So,
It's like a teal.
but it's a teal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then because I have this, I don't really reread these anymore. Like I remember pretty vividly. But I will tell you, I mean, for those of us that have reread it, I know at least everyone's at least tried to reread it at least once. Like, was because it's so Tamlin heavy, like how was that rereading process for you guys? Because I know for me, the first time I reread it, it was like kind of going through mud a little bit until we got
Horrendous.
to chapter
Horrendous.
20, which by the way is Cal and mine when Rhys shows up. So like, did anyone else like actually enjoy it, or did you guys
I
struggle
just
as
didn't
well?
like him the first time, and that's
So-
all I really have to say.
One thing that I noticed, I went straight from Kingdom of Ash to Acotar, like literally like the next day.
Okay,
And-
same. Okay, this is interesting. Yes.
I was like, first of all, this feels so young. Like you go back to first person, and I'm just like, ew.
Mhm.
Like I was like,
Mhm.
I remembered how much I don't like first person, how young it feels. And even though I know this is more of an adult book than Throne of Glass is,
Right.
I don't know. I kind of like came to like my original rating of the book was 5 stars, and I'm going in. I'm like, this isn't gonna be a 5-star when I read it again. And
No.
I'm also finding like Tamlin is like, now that I know, I'm like Tamlin is so toxic. Like there are so many red flags, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, and like I forgot how absolutely stupid Feyre is in this book. Like I'm literally just like, this girl is dumb. So
Well,
that's
and to be fair, like, because you're right, you don't realize it. And to give her credit, she's allowed to be dumb here, but
Right.
man, does she change in the next 2 books.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. Does anyone fall in love with Tamlin during a reread?
No.
No, I didn't even like him the first time I read it.
Snaps, Kate, snaps.
Caitlin, did you like him the first time?
I was in love.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know. All right, Kate. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I think on the reread, especially, like one already, part of it was I had seen the art of Feyre and Rhys, so I think
Yeah.
maybe part of that was like I wasn't fully invested. I was like, who the frick is this person?
Yes.
But I think as I was reading it this time, like Caitlin said, I'm like, this is like a 3.5, 3.75
Yeah.
star read, maybe.
Mhm.
And I was like, there's nothing between Feyre and Tamlin. Like there is nothing, like no
No.
communication. Like it is fully just them like grabbing onto the closest person to them and being like, I'm gonna love you because I've been so alone. And I was just like, oof, this is really bad.
Like really not good.
Like, and it makes sense. And again, it's like, I trust SJM. I mean, now having experienced all of her books, it's like, you can very clearly see why it is done in that way. But if this were like a standalone romance, I would have been like 2 stars, no connection. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
until Under the Mountain, which obviously like we all love Under the Mountain, but
I have
No,
to
it's-
give Avery major props really quick because she's in the process of doing the reread for the notes and everything. Avery is just to quickly, because I know the common answer is, well, I'm just going to skip to when Rhys shows up. I think Avery and I both would tell you not to do that if you're rereading for crossovers, because
Sorry, guys.
it's
There's shit
actually
there.
it's actually sickening how many things are in there that
Yes.
that blows your
Suriel
mind.
says a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Suriel says some stuff.
Every time the Suriel says something, I'm like, write that down.
There's
I've like straight up said things to Sarah and she's been like, I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah,
I'm
like-
I'm sorry.
When I was reading the first like 2 chapters and Faye was like talking with her dad and
Yes.
he's like complaining about like their situation, he's like, I just want a better world. And I screamed. I was like, he did not just say a better world. I was beside myself.
Or the random passerby who carved marks into their cottage and
the
whispered
marks.
weird words.
the
and I was like, seriously?
the ward
Freaking-
marks. The ward
W-A-R-D,
marks.
ward marks.
The ward marks.
W-A-R-D,
The ward marks.
Like, seriously?
Whatever. And what is it? What does Feyre say when she's going through the wall? Like when she's going between the Fae and the human world, she says she like feels like a gateway port. I'm like, stop it.
Oh, and then let's think about this. So iron obviously doesn't affect the Fae of Prythian, right?
No,
We
it
know this.
doesn't.
But the magic tastes metallic.
Yes.
I've been saying though, because just curious. Everyone here read Acotar before they read Throne of Glass, right? Yes. So because I read Throne of Glass first, I will tell you the weirdest part was reading about the iron, because I was like, oh right, obviously, like it's the same. And then when you get farther in and they're like, no, actually it's ash, I was like, well, hold on, who messed up in Throne of Glass and crossed over? Because someone messed up. Like something there's so many of those things. It's very similar to, for anyone who's, and by the way, these are not major spoilers for Throne of Glass, so like don't worry. It's the same thing when you read Crescent City and you're like, I'm sorry, you are the Autumn King? Autumn.
With red hair? Okay.
With red hair. Yeah. Which is why, when I'm not kidding you, when I tell you, when I read Crescent City, Earth and Blood the first time, I just pictured Rune like a really sexy Lucian, like the whole time. He had like red hair and like golden eyes. Like he was not what he actually is compared to. Like not at all. Like I was so confused.
Speaking of Lucian, so
Lulu.
something I have found really
Lulu.
interesting on this reread that I've been doing is finding all of the moments that are very, very clearly Beauty and the Beast, because obviously it's Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Mhm.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things was there is the first dinner that Feyre has with them, and Lucian's literally like, go Tamlin, and it's so Lumiere, I can't stand it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Lou, got it, understood. Okay, Lucian is Lumiere. Cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's also interesting for anyone who doesn't know this. Sarah J. Maas has said originally the intention was to put Lucian and Nesta together,
Yeah.
which is why Nesta's dresser has flames on it. It was supposed to represent Lucian. And then at some point along the way, I believe it is during Acotar, she had realized that pairing was not going to work.
Yeah, she would eat him alive.
Absolutely.
I think he might also like put up a fight. But what's so interesting, and it's something that I mean, mates are equals. And I always think of the fact that this is a side of Lucian that everyone loves. Like everyone talks about how much they love Lucian and Acotar. And then obviously his personality shifts quite a bit. I just can't wait for this Lucian and Elaine book that's going to come, because Elaine is also going to put up a fight with him, and it's going to
be so good.
It's going to be such Bridgerton vibes that I like can't handle it. Like I mentally can't. I'm not prepared for this.
I'm fully prepared for this.
Yeah,
ready.
like I'm gonna like the Az book. Don't get me wrong, but the Lucian book, that's probably gonna be my favorite of the two.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to go back and read Acotar and just enjoy Lucian, because hopefully Sarah will bring that guy back, because It's also when you really see that he's Helion's son. Like, let's be real. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, now I get it.
Got
Okay.
it. Understood.
Yeah, understand. I get the message. So taking you guys back to the very first time you read Acotar.
Yeah.
When Rhys showed up, were you instantly in love with him, or were you hesitant?
I was curious. I was
Okay.
like,
Mhm.
I was kind of like, this is going to mean something. I didn't realize that he was going to be who he was.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of like, there's something with this character. I just couldn't know what it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kate or Avery?
I mean, because I had seen like the art
Fan
with
art.
Feyre and like a dark-haired man, I kind of figured that's who it was. And I will say there was definitely some confusion because like at first I was like, oh, he's been looking for you, and then you get under the mountain and he's like licking her dirty face, like up her eye. So I'm like, are we sure we like him?
Yeah.
But I was excited. I mean, it's no different than like I knew like Aelin and all that stuff, and it was like, oh, we're just gonna get like punched in the face. It's fine. I just roll with it.
Yeah. So I think for me, I read it so quickly because I read it in one sitting. I read it on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Just random Sunday. And I have a video. I only have one video from reading Acotar, and then I started doing all of my like reactions with my friend. And I literally have one video, and it's just me talking to the camera going, am I supposed to like Tamlin? I don't understand. And then I said, when does this Rysand person show up that you told me about? Like,
Wait, that's a good question. Did you guys call him Rysand the first time? Because I definitely did. That took like a month or two to get Rhys.
I didn't really. It was more like I had heard the name said both ways. So that's why I said it the way that I did.
Okay.
I'm dyslexic, so pronunciation of these things has always been like a big struggle for me.
Yeah.
So it was originally like in my head was Rysand, but very soon after I heard Rhysand and I liked the way that sounded so much more that it changed quickly in my mind.
It was funny. I liked Rysand, but I preferred Rhys. I was like, Rysand Rhys. And people were like, that doesn't make any sense.
I knew Rhys was an actual name because I had seen that with like different actors in like our actual world.
Right.
So I was
like,
okay, so Rhys is right. So Rhysand.
Yeah.
Sure. Like it's just, yeah.
I love someone's like, Tamlin has 0. I'm going to read some of the comments. Sorry, I kind of ignored.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like I'm the only one who just couldn't enjoy Throne of Glass. Well, babe,
You're not wrong.
what do I need to help you with to get you to enjoy it? But if you just
Wait,
like,
do they mean the first book, or do they mean
Yeah,
the
that's
series?
the real question.
Because
Yeah.
I didn't love the first book.
Yeah, I didn't either.
oh yeah, the first. No, I always tell people, I'm like, please.
No one loves the first book.
Please, you'd be surprised at how many people told me like, how dare you like turn down the first book? And I was like, really? Are we sure about that? Like,
Relax.
yeah, I think
I would rather the first book be the worst one and the last book be the best than certain other series that have had a couple good first books and then go downhill. So.
Yeah, I will say, in my opinion, Kingdom of Ash is better than Wings and Ruin because of the way it's just a more satisfying ending. I think
I would agree.
Mhm.
the one thing that I think is really hard if you read Throne of Glass first and then you read Acotar, you see how amazing Maeve is, and then you get Amarantha and you're like, really?
Amarantha leaves much to be desired in multiple ways.
Yeah, so I mean the entire series, I'm here for the witches, Lysandra, and ooh, okay, well, don't worry. We'll get you there. You'll appreciate it eventually. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It's okay.
You can't call someone the most beautiful person you've ever seen and not have them be a portrait. Yeah, I think I will say, so my opinion of Rhys was, I'm trying to remember. I was cautiously curious.
Mhm.
I didn't love the head that was left at the gate a few chapters later. I was like,
Nobody liked that.
this guy seems like an ass. It wasn't until, because also keep in mind I had read A Touch of Darkness first, so I had Hades and Persephone on the brain. So the minute Rhys grabbed Feyre's arm and did the bargain and was going to take her for 1 week, I realized immediately what was happening. Like instantly I was like, oh, he's Hades, she's Persephone, I get it. Like very, very quick. Like I was like, oh my God, even Tamlin's in spring. Like this is Demi. Like I like immediately pieced it together. and I was very proud of myself. I didn't want to I didn't want to tell the internet because I was so nervous, but when Reese stumbled, I knew what that meant, and I just was hoping I was right, and I was.
Yeah.
So that was my one quite proud of myself moment.
I'm really proud of you for that. What I found interesting about how quickly I read it was because, guys, we all know I'm insane. I'd read Acotar, and I was halfway through the book, and I ordered the next books because I didn't have them because that book had sat on my shelf for 7 years, and I just picked it up randomly.
7 years.
7 years. I'd had it since it came out because I was in college when I bought it, which is why it's the original cover. Yeah. So it'd just been chilling, and I just decided to randomly pick it up one day. And I got halfway through the book series and I ordered the rest of them. And then I had to go to work the next day. And on my lunch break at work, I drove to Barnes and Noble and picked up Mist and Fury because Reese had built up so much at the end of this book that I couldn't stand to not know what was about to happen. Like, I had to know.
What's funny to me is I've heard from people who read this series when it came out. People would go to signings and would have Sarah sign, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, I just love Tamlin. He's so amazing." And she would like get uncomfortable. She's like signing. And I just think that's like the best thing ever. She's like, "Thanks. Here you go." Like, she's like, you're like absolutely not wanting to talk about Tamlin. But I do think I have the opinion that Sarah holds a soft spot for Tamlin, and I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, okay. But I was doing the reread, and there's like this one moment. I think I highlighted it somewhere, but it's literally like, I think it's Tamlin and Lucian are talking, and Lucian's like, "What are you gonna do? Just wander around in your beast form forever and like crawl around the lands or whatever?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
The amount of times I have read, and it has to be in the first like 23 chapters of them saying that like, "I'm not your jailer, I'm never gonna lock you up." Like the amount of like times that they say that, I'm just like,
well,
what you do?
Well, and to give Tamlin, like, I will give Tamlin the benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with his actions. Let me clarify, because one of the things that pisses me off more than anything on the internet is when people compare Kale and Tamlin. And we're going to stop that right now, because Kale is more similar to Lucian than he is to Tamlin. So in case anyone's wondering, like, that comparison needs to stop. But the one thing I find very fascinating, and I do have to I kind of forget, and I have to remind myself, Tamlin always assumed he was going to be the Cassian in the relationship. He was not going to be the Rhysand. He was not going to be the High Lord. He was going to be the Cassian. Imagine if Cassian was the High Lord. He would kind of do the Tamlin thing, not the protection thing, but he would be like, "I don't really care." Like that, and that's basically Tamlin's whole thing, is like, he doesn't care, but he was stuck in this position, so he has to do it because he's so powerful that he was the one that was selected in the process. But so I have to remind myself that. And as a protector, obviously, this is again where we have to go to nature versus nurture, because Cassian he was raised alone in a freaking war tent. But like, Tamlin, he feels the best way to protect the people he loves is to literally protect them and to shield them and to provide things that they love. And he thinks what Feyre needs is paint and a studio and set her up and she'll be happy for the rest of her life. And he felt that way so his intention was always good in that regard. However, he didn't, this is kind of going back to what you said, Caitlin, where it was like just two people who fell in love because they had to fall in love. Like, that's not what she wanted in the end. And he didn't, he struggled to understand that.
Well, and I think he also struggles with control over the situation. Yeah. So he trusts her, but also he watched her die and he can't lose that control again. So he's going to do it in the way that he thinks is best, which is not the correct way to do it. But like, you can in your head understand how he got to that point and still disagree with the action and be like, "That's bad. Maybe we don't do that."
I would still like, there's so many things Tamlin did in this book that I disagree with his action. I get where his logic was in the decision. For example, why did you spend, I always forget it was so much longer than it was. He had shielded her from all those Fae that were walking around Spring. why the hell? That should have been like a few days and then done. Like, okay, you're now here. Sorry, I shielded you to like not freak you out and have you eat a freaking meal with me. But like, this is the reality. That was like months.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she freaked out when Alice walked in the room. Like that. And at that point, like the relationship shouldn't have been built that high for her not to realize that. Also for no one in the court to realize that. For the most part, that she couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's those things that I didn't appreciate from Tamlin.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said in the comments, I just want to point it out, that they were still a supporter of Tamlin until he sold her sisters out. I just want to clarify. Tamlin didn't sell her sisters out. Ianthe did.
Yeah.
Ianthe sold them out. Tamlin didn't even expect the sisters to be there. He and Lucian were both surprised by that.
I think Tamlin and Lucian both would have done everything they could to prevent them from showing up.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Do you guys think that he should get his redemption arc? Do you believe in the Tamlin redemption arc? Because I
feel like he's already kind of done what he needs to do to make up for some of his mistakes, and I think he just needs to heal now. I don't think he needs an additional story. I think he took action, and
the couple of,
and that's it.
The couple of actions that I can remember are the getting them out when Elaine was taken, helping them get out, and then also giving his power to Rhysand. Like those are the two main those are your redeeming qualities. Those are your final book redeeming qualities for him. I don't know if I care enough about him to hear any more go heal yourself. I don't hate you. You don't hate me, but I don't care.
He's a lot of personal growth to work through now, but I think the actions have already happened.
To kind of go off of that, I don't want to see him get a love interest.
No.
I don't want that. But I would like the series to end where he's in a good place.
I would agree. That's fine.
But if it's with a woman, I will be like, really?
Yeah.
I
just don't want to.
They live for so long. He does not need a woman in this handful of years. That's crazy.
No, I don't think he does either. And I think too, if this is where I think it's interesting in regards to Silver Flames, because I think Sarah had a clear vision when Wings and Ruin came out, and I think if we had ended it there, I would have been very satisfied with Tamlin, because kind of to Avery's point, I really actually loved the conversation between Tamlin and Feyre when he gave Rhys the final drop. That was such a beautiful final, I've accepted this conversation, and I felt very satisfied with that. But then Sarah took it away from me when I read Frost and Starlight and Silver Flames, and now I want to see. My assumption is the reason she did that is because she expects to give him a little more to stand on, because I have a feeling we're heading towards either the High Lords are going to have to get together again, or we're going to make Rhys High King. That's what it feels like we're heading towards. And the Rhys
Avery did her no. Avery's like, High King Lulu. She did a little nose scrunch. She went.
I think this is the thing.
Sorry,
though.
I have no poker face.
This is my thing about Rhys becoming High King. He doesn't want it, but he will take it if it makes the most sense. And I also think that if he were to go to the High Lords, and not him particularly to bring it up, but I think someone else is going to bring it up, he has the votes already to get it. He's going to have Helion, he's going to have Tarquin, he's going to have Kallias, and he will have probably Thiessen will just go with it because he's the other Solar Court. So your only ones are Tamlin and Baron. And if Eris becomes High Lord of Autumn, he'll give it to Rhys just to keep the peace so he can go take care of Autumn.
Yeah.
But I also think if that ends up happening, I'm going to be a little annoyed.
Yeah. Okay. But Caitlin, you asked the question. Do you have an answer? Do you want Tamlin to get a redemption?
So, all of you are better people than me.
So you don't want anything?
No, I think he could go die in a hole.
Oh my god.
I get that. I totally get that.
You guys are better people than me, okay? It's fine.
No, but this is my thing. I think I would agree with you, Caitlin, if there wasn't another person that could take this on. Like, literally no one in spring. Like, if Tamlin dies, what happens?
I mean, technically, it could pass to Lucian, but, like, it's not gonna.
Oh my god, that, like, hurts my brain. Like,
yeah.
And
it's the most powerful person. Like it like chooses. It's like,
and I know he's not gonna go obviously do that. Like, I don't want. I mean, okay, maybe I don't want him to die, but like, if he just is like miserable the rest of his life, like, I wouldn't be mad. It's fine. I don't know. Like I said, you guys are better than me, but like,
no. I get where you're coming from, though. Yeah. I don't think that doesn't make you bad. Plenty of people agree with you, Caitlin.
Yeah,
I mean, plenty of people. So okay.
Listen, Lucian is emissary to basically every court, or at least has a connection to every court, and that is the only reason that I'm like, if we're getting a High King, he makes the most sense because he's diplomatic and he has connection everywhere. He even has a connection on the freaking continent. Like, come on.
Right.
Like, come on.
Right. It will be an interesting discussion for sure. And it will.
He is a man with no home.
I won't say it, but I think based off of a recent book's ending, I think the conversation's going to get brought up again.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, which we already know how he felt the first time the conversation got brought up. So, okay. Well, let me think if there's anything else. Oh, this is always a fun question. Did any of you figure out the riddle the first time around?
My answer.
Avery figured it out. I did not.
I feel so stupid.
I did too. Don't worry. Yeah, I thought it was a plant.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it was immediate. Like, I had to sit and think about it for a minute, but I did take a minute to think about it. And then I was like, oh, I mean, but I also was like, I think it's this, but that seems too easy. And then I went through the trials and then she said what it was. And I was like, I was right.
I thought it was a plant. I thought it was a poisonous plant.
I love that for you.
I was not the critical reader at all when I started. Like, these are the books that made me a critical reader.
Right.
So at this point, I was not catching anything. They call Tamlin's heart a heart of stone twice already.
Yes.
And like, I didn't catch that.
No, but you know my favorite thing about that is, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even realize his heart was actually stone until I did the reread. I was like,
what? Sarah,
I tell you, this is what happens.
No, this literally was bent.
This is what happens when I read a book the first time and I get really stressed out and my anxiety gets high. I just start reading very fast because I'm panicking, because I'm like, is everyone going to be, I just need to know if everyone's going to be okay. And that is what happened in the first time I read this, because it really did take, I mean, I didn't even remember half the crap Reese did. I was like, because I just was like, you guys know this. I don't like trials. I don't like challenges. I don't like competitions. So the minute they brought up a trial, I was like, oh God, here we go again. Like, I hate them so much because I just want to know if they win or not. Like, I don't even, and you know who caused this? We can blame Divergent. That damn series caused this absolute anxiety, and Hunger Games. I will never get over the fever dream I had with that damn book. Like, that scarred me as a young adult. So anytime I see trial or challenge, I'm like, oh my God, just tell me if they won or not. Like, I don't care what happens. Even when Avery was like, don't you remember what happened in the second trial? And like, she had to read. I'm like, no. Which
is why we came up with the song we came up with for the book.
Yeah, we were not kind about that at all.
We should tell them. What that was.
Oh, yeah. So when we were going through the playlist, we got to the second trial, that chapter. The song we picked was Reading Rainbow.
You guys are cruel. Oh my
Butterfly in the sky.
No, stop singing because you're gonna get me. You're gonna get me demonetized. Yeah, it's well, okay, and let me clarify some things about the freaking. I'm so worried for Sarah when CC3 comes out.
We're all concerned for Sarah. When CC3 comes out, their Wi-Fi is gonna be turned off. She's only gonna have a physical copy. Like, we're gonna be sitting on standby with like tea. I don't know.
I'm gonna need like so many sedation medications.
I'm gonna give you a Xanax. Like,
I'm gonna be like, I'm sorry, what's happening, hon? Like, I'm gonna be like not okay. I mean, like, yeah, it's. I'm gonna need a bunker. Yeah, basically. But and it's funny too because for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it really was that moment under the mountain with the bargain. That was when everything had shifted for Reese. Did you guys like have that epiphany moment with him at some point? Do you remember what it was?
yeah.
I would say just like when he's like saving her. Yeah, I guess the bargain under the mountain. I mean, when that was kind of like when that happened, I was like, he's not going away. Like
That was
I was like, I don't know. And I remember the first time I was reading it when Tamlin like comes down just to like make out with her and like does nothing to like get her out. Like
annoyed.
doesn't even try. And I'm just like, excuse me, like you cannot possibly tell me that you're not helping in any
It was extremely annoying that
Yeah.
Tamlin sat there and did absolutely nothing the entire time.
It drove me crazy. And that was kind of when my loyalties as a first time reader started to waver.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I think for me it was definitely the bargain, but like I also am psychotic and a critical reader, and so I was reading and I was thinking about how Rhysand decided to do all of the like dancing and making her forget stuff, which is it can be very controversial.
Yeah.
But I really like that what he did was when he painted her body in the paint or whatever, it's a ritual from Calanmai. And it allows Feyre to get out of her own head and still wake up the next morning and know exactly where she was touched the entire night.
I'm not.
I really appreciated. So I was like, okay, don't love the method, but understand the logic. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still think there are things I wish Reese could explain under the mountain. I know it probably is too late at this point and we probably won't see it. I agree with you, Avery. I think he did what he thought was best in a horrible situation, but there are still some choices he does that I'm like,
oh yeah.
I struggle to see the logic here.
Yeah, questionable.
And someone pointed this out yesterday when we were talking about things. A good thing to remember too is Feyre did not consent to the kiss with Rhys, but he did it out of panic because she was making out with Tamlin and he didn't want either of them to get in trouble.
Right.
And that's a very interesting dynamic because that's not something you typically see in a book. It's you typically see a character be manipulative or malicious in their intent to do something like that, whereas Rhys was so politically driven. That's not the reason he did that.
Right. And additionally, we at a minimum of all of the things that happen under the mountain, that is the thing we get the explanation for. That is the thing that he essentially apologizes for and wishes he could take back, and all
is
of
the
that.
kiss.
Like,
Yeah.
From like his point of view, like I doubt the first kiss he wanted with his mate was gonna be that. Like that was not what he envisioned.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
Well, and what's interesting too is he pieced together that she was the girl he had a vision of 2 years ago. And so he was naturally intrigued by her and wanted to just keep an eye on her. He assumed that that's who that was, but he kind of like Cassian assumed that's who Nesta was until it snapped for him. And then it pieced together pretty quickly. And then Rhys did the thing that not everyone would expect, which is to give her the choice. He completely backed off. So it was, but you know what's interesting? Okay, quick side note. I read a fanfic, which was very interesting. It was like, what if Rhys had grabbed her in that moment and taken her? Like, basically instinctual panic and then being like, oh my God, I took her. That fanfic was so funny because I swear to God, if it was any other character, that would not have worked. But reading it with Rhys, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this kind of works. Because it was creepy. Like, it kind of went down a creepy rabbit hole, but I was like, because it's Rhys, it works. But, like, it's just a really, like, it was an interesting psychological experiment of a one-shot that got really smutty really fast. But I was like, because it's Rhys, I'm okay with this. If it was anyone else, I would literally murder them. Like, it was just so interesting. But, yeah, it's, Acotar is an interesting book, I think, when you go back and reread.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to quickly point out, and it's something I don't know if anyone else thinks this, but I think about it every time. Every time I reread the scene with Tamlin and Lucian and Feyre, and Rhys comes into the dinner and they're hiding her, and then he breaks into her mind and he decides to tell everyone all the dirty thoughts Feyre's having about Tamlin. Every time I reread that, I'm like, this is gonna bite you in the ass, Rhys, in like 2 books. Just stop. Just this High Lords meeting is happening because of this conversation. Like, this is the reason this goes down the way it does. Like, it's just a little nugget of a thought that I think. Okay, cool.
All right.
Well, anything else you guys want to discuss for Acotar?
Do you have a favorite moment?
Oh, that's a good question. I gotta think. Hold on.
I have 2, because I have like a dual one.
Oh,
more of like one that I found on a reread versus one that I just liked the first time, and then I obviously like Snarky Lucian. Like, it's just
yeah, I have one that I found on a reread and one that okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay.
I won't answer. Who does anyone else have an answer?
I can share.
Okay,
yeah, go.
So it was a favorite moment initially, and then because of something I found on TikTok, it kind of solidified it. So when Rhys sends her the music while he's under the mountain, I loved that initially. Like, that was a huge moment for me. But then there's that I guess music artist who made the song.
Yes.
Kelsey Woods.
So I fell in love with that song so much. That was what my bridal party walked out to at the wedding. So yeah, and I remember like I was standing waiting to like for it to be my turn to walk, and like I'm crying then listening to the song. So that moment overall is just very, very special. And then I just love the first encounter with the cereal. Like, how can you not love the cereal? And I just like how, they later talk about how, I don't remember if it was Tamlin or Lucian, but they were like, you spared him, like you saved him. No one else really would have thought. And I don't know, I just like the cereal. So those are my 2 moments.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kate, what do you got?
I think I really like right after the worm and she chucked the bone at Amarantha. I thought that was like a really like badass moment.
Yes.
That was really good. And then on the reread, I was talking to Avery about this right before. It's not really a full-on moment, but I believe it was after the second trial, and she was like about to cry, and Rhys was like in her head, and he was telling her not to cry, and he called her a good girl, and I was like, oh, see, we should have known from right here.
We should have known.
That's so
like,
funny.
Okay.
Wait, I have a great fanfic to send to both of you then.
Okay.
It's a Faye Sand one, but don't worry.
Twist our arms.
Yeah. Yeah. Avery, what do you got?
Okay, so I obviously wrote the music too, because that was like my initial, like the music is just music. I mean, Sarah, you know how I feel about music. So like that in and of itself was just like beautiful. But I also like the whole scene like after it, after the kiss and everything, like the whole like kind of get to know you situation with Rhys in the cell. But my favorite thing that I have found on a reread is, I'm going to say this with confidence, the bond snapped for Feyre first.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't got to the reread, so I can't tell you anything on it.
When you see it, you will know, because it's like when I was rereading Mist and Fury and I figured out that Amryn knew at the Inner Circle dinner that they were mates because she could smell it. Like, it's one of those, it's like hidden, but you're like,
oh.
So it was really fun. And I said it to Sarah, and Sarah was like, there's no way, Avery. And then she went back and read it and was like, dang it.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
I can't remember the moment. It's when she's dying. Like it's
right. She's having her bone snapped, and it's right before she like actually dies.
Yes.
Because
Rhys
doesn't wrap around the bargain bond. He wraps around the mating bond.
Okay.
So yeah.
I'm excited. Like I said, I'm not there yet, but
No, it's really good.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, you.
So my favorite the first time around, probably doesn't surprise a lot of you, it was the stumble because I had figured it out. And it's funny because when you talk to someone who's read Acotar and then reads, this is the only thing I hate about people who read Acotar and then read Throne of Glass. Whenever you read Acotar and then you read Throne of Glass, those readers are looking for a mating bond. They are looking for it and they are sniffing for it, and that is not what Throne of Glass is about. And so the mating bond in Throne of Glass is a very symbolic thing. It's not referenced quite frequently. And I wasn't confident, but that stumbled through me. And I remember the first time I read it and people were like, do you have any theories? Do you have any theories? And I wouldn't say. And it wasn't until we got to a certain part. And it is probably one of my proudest moments, the fact that I had pieced that together, that was what it was. I was so excited that like, oh my God, they really were this. I think I read Mist and Fury so fast because I wanted to be right. Like that was a big deal.
Stumble. I don't know. What are you referencing there?
So at the very end of Acotar, when Rhys says goodbye to Feyre, and it's the famous line of like, love your human heart, Feyre, like pity those who don't have, something like that. He bows and he stumbles and then his eyes widen and Feyre's like, are you okay? And he winnows away. And he explains in 54 of Mist and Fury that was when the mating bond had snapped and he panicked. That's why he stumbled, and he immediately left and then said to Moore, she's my mate. And Moore was like, I haven't seen you in 49 years. Like, what are you talking about? So, like, that is probably one of my, and I will, like, this is the only thing I will be nitpicky about when it comes to the TV show, is I want to see him stumble. Like, it left such an impression on me because he was so suave and sexy that, like, to see him do that. On the reread, the thing I remember the most that really, really caught my eye was Nesta. And it's because I don't know what it was about Nesta, but I think, let's be honest, if you say you liked Nesta in chapter 2, you're lying. You just want the clout. Okay? Like, you are 1000% lying to everyone if you say you liked Nesta in the very beginning of Acotar. You are a liar. I'm sorry. I have a hard time believing you. I'm just going to be honest. However, what changed the tide for me was when she returned and she had this deep conversation with Nesta, and Nesta says, go back to your High Lord. Like, that conversation is something that I think people forget. And that is what made me like Nesta, because I was like, hold on, there's more to this sister than we realize.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something I really cherish on the reread because I think it shows Nesta's kindness, which is hard to find sometimes. So,
yeah. And I also, what I'm noticing on the reread is like, Feyre will talk crap every single second that she can about Nesta. She's just like, well, my sister isn't missing me because she has more room in the bed. Yeah. And I'm just like, do we really need to say that?
Right.
Yeah, it's I found this fanfic, by the way. It's called To Please a High Lord. So you're welcome.
Okay. Heck yes.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It takes place a lot in the Court of Nightmares. So I think it's just Nesta has a very she's and I do think when Feyre returns as Fae with Cassian and all of them, I think Nesta's shields go up, and so she's back to that harsh exterior. But to see that kindness from her in that moment, being like, I knew something was wrong, it really left an impression on me. So, and I love my girl Nesta. So I
would agree. Like, it was that moment in Acotar for me, but what really solidified my love for Nesta was her meeting Cassian in Mist and Fury, because I loved Cassian so much and their dynamic instantaneously. I was like, I want it right now.
Yeah.
And then I had to wait like 4 books for it. And I was like,
yeah. I also think someone brought up the Mercenary. That is also a very fascinating thing to read on a reread.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
I'm very interested because like I like completely copied down like her whole like description.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing that description again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't she have like a wound or something? And it had like blackness on it or something in Mercenary when she met her originally.
Had, like, black veins from.
Yeah. And I was like, huh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I had asked everyone, we didn't do this for Throne of Glass, but I realized it would be fun for Acotar because for some reason people don't always believe that, like, we know the Acotar. I don't know why. They know you know it, but not, us. Like, they.
Okay, but like, can we just preface this? I'm not perfect. I don't know
that.
everything.
I know that, but
I know a lot.
It's the same way as like people are like, oh, you know a lot about Throne of Glass. You don't know anything about any of the series, and I'm like, stop it. That's not true. So I had asked Avery to prepare questions. We're doing a mini quiz. You guys can participate, and then we're gonna go through Slido. So for those of you that have put Slido questions, I promise you we are gonna go through that, and then we're gonna end talking about the TV show and the recent update that happened today. So we'll talk about that very briefly. So, okay, Avery has questions. I have a whiteboard. I don't if we're gonna write them down. So. Okay.
So each of these.
Oh, we have to write them down.
I don't
Yeah.
have anything to write it down on. Hold on.
That's okay.
I
Y'all
got-
go ahead and
I
get
got
your
it.
stuff.
Okay.
And I'll kind.
Yeah, paper's
I'll
fine.
kind of- yeah. So each of these cards has 2 questions on them. So I'm gonna let you each pick a color, and then whatever's left is the last one I'll read. Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Sarah, you pick first. Pink, purple, blue, yellow.
You didn't have green, rude.
I don't have green. I'm sorry.
I'll do pink. That's fine.
Okay. Oh, you picked the hardest questions first.
Oh no.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. What's
So
the question?
everybody answers, but like this was just to like
Okay.
choose.
Okay.
What is the name of Feyre's rich aunt?
Oh God.
It's said 7 times. I checked. It wasn't only said once.
Yeah, but when you know it's not real, it's like, does it matter? I'm giving no answer.
I know what it starts with, but I don't know what it ends with.
If you get like 3 letters right, I'll give it to you.
I only put down 2.
Okay, give it a shot. Give it a shot for 3. It's hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters long.
I know it starts with this letter. Okay. Okay.
Everybody want to give it a shot?
Are we just doing the letter? Because I'll write the letter down.
Sure. Hit me with the letter. If you get the first letter right, I'll give it to you.
I don't know why I remember the first letter, but I don't remember the full name.
That's how
Okay,
I
ready?
I'm
Okay.
not even confident I have the first letter.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Is it A? F?
It is
R?
R. It is Rip. Sarah got Rip. It is Ripley.
It is
Great Aunt
Ripley!
Ripley.
Damn it, I almost wrote that down.
You'll never forget it. Okay, number 2 on the hardest questions card.
Okay.
How long ago was the High Lord's rebellion against Amarantha, and which
know what
courts
this is.
participated?
I know what this is because we talked about this in Discord. I'm gonna let everyone else guess.
Which
Oh, it
courts
was even
participated?
listed out. It was listed out and I tabbed it, but
I will give you that there are only 3 courts of the 7 that participated in the rebellion.
Wait, can I guess the courts?
That is part of the question. Please guess the courts.
Okay.
oh, I'm trying to remember.
Question.
There were 3 courts?
There were
Uh-huh.
three-
They were
there
listed
3
out.
courts. Yeah.
Because they even said that after the rebellion, that's when she started like killing their kids and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, hold on. Okay, I gotta think who would be the
Wait.
third one.
Repeat the question.
Okay, the question is, how long ago was the High Lord's rebellion against Amarantha, and which 3 courts participated?
What was the third court? Hold on. What are all the courts?
Can I look at the map?
Yeah, wait, hold on.
Am I allowed to look at the map
No, wait,
to
wait,
remember
wait.
the courts?
Okay, it's spring. It's spring, autumn, winter. Right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No. Yeah, spring, summer, autumn. They share the border. And then it's winter. And then it's dawn, day, night.
That is the correct order from bottom to top.
Do you
Yes.
like how I know that?
I'm very proud of you.
Okay.
Do not look in the comment section. That's cheating.
But
I'm not looking in the comments. I have my answers written down.
Okay.
Answer locked
I'm on
in.
my third.
I'm gonna guess with this one because I feel like it's this one because of something that happens. Okay.
Okay.
Wait, I'm not ready. Hold on.
You're good. You're good.
Crap. I don't know. I'm guessing on the last one.
I love it.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, ready? Show me your answers.
I put 49 winter, dawn, spring.
I put summer,
Okay.
Winter, dawn, summer.
and I put
So-
is it day question mark because it might be
So,
day.
Kate, you got winter correct.
Damn.
I also have 49 years, and then I have dawn, night, and spring.
Nope.
I guess 49 years ago is when spring got their
Yeah.
attached there.
Sarah has
That's
the
why I got
years
confused.
and 2 of the courts correct.
Oh.
It is day, not dawn.
I wrote day. Look, it's super small. I was like,
Fair.
is it day? Because it's either this is why I was debating between the two. Day made sense because of Helion, but
So
dawn
it's 40 years since the rebellion, but there's another question that 49 years is for. So 49 is not an incorrect answer. It's just incorrect for
Wait,
this.
can I get a bonus point for saying this is when Tarquin became High Lord?
I'm going to punch you in the face.
That was obviously one of the questions.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry because I was like, wait, I know this. Okay, all right. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Caitlin, you pick next. Purple, blue, or yellow?
Let's do purple.
Okay. All right. These are the medium questions.
Okay.
What creature hunts Feyre after she captures and frees the Suriel?
Creature.
Mhm.
Creature, yeah.
thought
I
it
mean,
was-
there's
there are
multiple
multiple.
of them, but it is a type of creature.
Oh,
One
I can't
type.
remember that one. I know the one that was when it was her and Lucian. I can't remember.
This is a 50-50, but
This
I'm
is-
pretty
this is
confident.
after the Suriel, Tamlin comes in and saves her.
No, I'm not gonna spell it right.
This is a
Ooh,
50-50.
do I get extra points if I say how many she killed?
Sure. I
She
don't
killed
know
2.
that number, so go ahead.
She
I think
killed
Tam
2?
killed 4. Yeah, she killed 2 of them.
Yeah. That is correct.
Don't
Sure.
remember that. I thought it was just one.
Um,
So, okay.
It's not spelled right, but
That's okay.
I have 2 answers.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, hit me with it.
Naga.
It's
Not
not
Yes.
Nah, whatever. Something.
Yeah,
The other thing was
The
the
Naga,
was the
yeah.
bog. The bog was the one when she was with
The
Lucian.
bog is with Lucian, yes.
Right. The bog is with the solution.
That's what I was like.
Okay.
It's 50-50. Okay.
I swear to God, if y'all don't get this one. What kind of animal is represented on Lucian's mask? I swear to God.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, hit me.
Fox.
It's a fox. Yay. Okay. All right. Kate. Blue or yellow?
Let's do yellow.
Yellow. Okay. Number 1. What animal does Tamlin sacrifice on Fire Night?
He sacrifices an animal on Fire Night. Literally no idea.
Sarah's gonna be mad she misses this one.
Oh, wait. I think I know what it is.
Ew. I just read that.
You know why I know this? Fan fiction. If I'm wrong, it's the fanfic's fault.
I don't even have it. I have no idea.
I'm guessing. I literally
People are like, there's an animal sacrifice in the comments and scream.
I totally.
Okay, are you ready?
Oh, I just saw the answer and I knew that. I can't say it now. Because I tabbed it because I was like, oh, that's interesting because there's one of those
Nope.
in Throne of Glass.
Okay, show me your.
That just told me.
I just gave her the answer.
Wait, then I was right. It was the fanfic that helped me.
Okay. So Sarah, partial credit because it does give a description of what color it is,
Oh,
but
okay.
partial credit.
Okay.
I get points to saying it's also in Throne
It
of
is
Glass.
a white
They don't,
stag. Caitlin
they
gets
don't
full
kill
credit.
it in Throne of Glass.
It is a white stag. Okay,
Alexa!
okay.
Just kidding.
Do not. Okay, number 2.
Okay.
How long is Tamlin's curse by Amarantha? There are 2 correct answers. There's one that is listed in the book and then one that is just like more commonly known by.
Okay, I'm gonna put the one that I think. But
Okay,
I have
okay,
a.
it's-
Can I put a follow up like question?
Sure.
Is it also this?
Yeah.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Hold on.
This is my follow up.
We're holding.
The top one is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, hit me with it.
7 by times 7 years.
Yep. So I
41.
have both the answers that are correct are 49 years or 7 times 7 years.
Didn't they say something too about 48? Like, that's why I wrote this down. That's why I'm like,
I don't
okay.
remember.
It was
Okay,
probably like on the last day of that.
Okay,
last year
okay,
or
'cause I
something.
knew
it
I
was-
think she took him like a couple days earlier. Or
I
something.
knew it was 49, but I saw 48 and I was like, 48. So okay.
All right. And we saved the easiest card for last.
Great.
Love this for us.
Okay.
Number 1. What animal was Feyre hunting when she came across the wolf in the wood?
Oh no. Wait.
It's what she actually brings back to the cottage. And she can't carry it and the wolf.
Okay,
So she skins the
I'm
wolf.
hoping I was right. Okay, cool. It looks like from the comments I was right. So I had to think about that for a second.
Ready, set, go.
Deer,
It was a
specifically
deer.
a doe.
Yeah.
No,
was a
I
deer.
have that too.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And last, but certainly not least, how many trials does Feyre have to complete for Amarantha to free Prithian?
Technically, she does.
Don't
Technically,
get technical. This is supposed to be the easy card.
well, there's 2 answers. Technically 3 or 0. She didn't have to do any of them.
Yeah, but we were talking about the trial specifically, ma'am.
Okay,
So,
all right. Are you ready?
yeah, it's 3.
Cool.
Beautiful. Congratulations. You passed Avery trivia.
Okay, Avery, are you ready for the questions I have for you?
No.
Is there any chance we'll be able to answer them?
Yeah, you might. I have 2
I don't
questions.
know if I'm going to be able to answer them.
I'm
That's
gonna-
going to stress me out.
Okay, they're both about Cal and Mai. So in case
Okay.
anyone's wondering. Okay,
Jesus.
Are we holding up our answers again?
I'm
sure.
not gonna. I'm
Okay,
just gonna
okay.
See how hard it is.
I'm stressed.
How many Fae surround Feyre before Reese shows up?
I'm like trying not to look because I know that there are fingers being held up right now. It's 3 or 4, and I can't remember which one.
It's 3. See, I knew you knew this.
I
Okay.
told you were gonna stress me out with
No,
this.
no, you were right. You were right. And then
Okay.
the last question is, who finds Feyre after Reese leaves?
I know this.
Who
Sorry, my
finds
cat started sneezing.
who
know.
finds her?
Can you hear that?
Yeah, she's
That's my cat sneezing.
Don't look at the comments.
yeah.
They
Don't
have
look
it
at
correct.
don't look at the comments.
Because he literally
Oh,
yelled at her.
okay, hold on. Sorry, my cat is stroking out. Are you okay? Okay. It's Lucian, by the way.
It's Lucian, by the way. It is Lucian. It is Lucian. I thought she would appreciate some Cal and my questions. So I was like, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Sarah. Since you read
My
Throne of
cat
Glass
has
first,
full-on snot coming out of her nose. It was a
did you
lot.
have any feelings towards Tam trying to kind of like biting Feyre?
I hate that.
Since you read Throne of Glass first?
No. And so my thing, it was funny because I was really lucky when I read Acotar, or I was really lucky when I read Throne of Glass where I had no spoilers. Like I really went in there knowing nothing. I knew that there was a white-haired guy named Rowan, and I think that was about it. I think I knew there was witches. So maybe 2 things, but like nothing super crazy. And when I read Acotar, and the reason I bring that up is because when I read Throne of Glass, I didn't know who Aelin was going to end up with, but I felt this like too hot, too cold, just right type of vibe. Like it was Goldilocks with Dorian was too hot, Kale was too cold, Rowan was just right. Tamlin gave me that vibe. I was like, this doesn't feel right. I appreciated what he was doing for her, but I also naturally, this is probably unpopular, I shockingly love flowers. So when they landed in spring, I was like, why would we ever leave? Like I would never leave spring. Like
I would. I'm like Cassian. I can't.
I'm like Cassian.
I swear to
just
you,
sneeze all the time.
like if it wasn't for Tamlin and someone was like, what's your favorite court? It would be a tie between spring and night. Like I would be so happy in the spring court if Tamlin wasn't there. Like I'm genuinely
all day long. Give me day.
genuinely would love spring court. So like I think that's the interesting thing. I will tell you what was interesting. This is somewhat Kingdom of Ash spoilers, so just warning. Um, because I saw the winged male with the heavily pregnant female, when wings
Mm-hmm.
were brought up, I was like, wings? Who's got
Mm.
wings? Like that was definitely in the back of my head, and so I got really excited about that. But I didn't know who Reese was, which was actually a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, that's what ruins Kingdom of Ash." That's not true. It actually, you do have an idea that she's an Acotar, but you don't realize like the significance of it. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
When
I would
I
also love Autumn.
when I read the wings portion of Kingdom of Ash, I started screaming, and this is like mid-COVID, so like my
Yeah.
whole family is home, and I started screaming, "She's pregnant!" And my mom's like comes into my room, and she's like, "Who's pregnant?"
Yeah. Well, and that's the other I was looking, I was trying to do research because I swear to you, I do this like once a month and I at this point need to just pin it, like have it pinned on my computer so I can always reference it. What's really fascinating is if you read Sarah J. Maas while the books were coming out, you would have read Frost and Starlight, and then you would have had 6 months, and then you would have read Kingdom of Ash. So you would have known that Feyre wanted to be pregnant, and then you would have read Kingdom of Ash and seen her pregnant. And that is really cool to see, to understand that concept, because in my head, what it signified was, oh, Reese is going to be fine in Wings and Ruin. Like, and that's why I didn't get emotional with Wings and Ruin, because I was like, no, I saw my Kingdom of Ash, she's fine. So it's an interesting relationship, but okay.
I was already crying in Wings and Ruin by the time we got to the Reese part. So
Yeah.
it
Okay.
just kind of kept going.
The only thing I want to ask about the TV show, and then we'll get into the Slido questions. Two things.
Sure.
Number one, I want to address the rumor. Do you guys know about the rumor that happened today? Okay, let me quickly make a synopsis on what happened, and then let me give my TV knowledge that I have from a college degree where I went to a film school, and I can educate some people on these things. So, a podcast which is known for sharing rumors, insights, whatever, and they tend to be very right, did a podcast where they, or read their most recent podcast, they talked about Acotar, and they, in my opinion, don't seem like people who know of the series, but they're going at this from an entertainment mindset. What they said was that the TV show currently has 4 scripts that have been written. That's the rumor. They have been turned into Hulu. The budget has been cut in half for Acotar already, and that apparently Sarah is a nightmare to work with as a showrunner, and that she's not letting anyone turn in scripts and all of that stuff. Okay, let's break this down. Let's start with the first thing. Sarah's the showrunner, is a nightmare to work with. That's not true. And it takes literally a Google search to figure that out, because anyone with half a brain, if you Google A Court of Thorns and Roses TV show, you see that the showrunner is Ron Moore and that it is in collaboration with Sarah J. Maas. Then if you do a little extra digging, you find out that Ron Moore was basically signed a contract with Disney and Hulu to produce so many shows for them, which is very old school Hollywood, but it's not unheard of. And one of those projects was it was Acotar. So, Sarah's not a showrunner. She's an executive producer, which, for those of you that don't know what that title means, it basically means nothing except they get more money. That's pretty much what it means. Some executive producers do have like more say. Basically, you're like an investor. Think about it that way. Like in a typical business, you have so many investors in a company, and like that's what it is. Sarah, because she owns the rights to Acotar, they gave her this executive producer status so that she can kind of be in here and fact check it. Regarding the budget, I actually do buy that, because I think when Hulu actually sat down and looked at this book, the first book they could do with a lot of in-person effects. The second book with the wings that are going to have to be animated every time a bad boy appears on screen, that's going to require more budget. So I think the budget probably was cut a little bit for the first season, not for the second. But I don't buy a single thing about Sarah being a nightmare, and just trust me when I say that. Just trust me when I say that. I do think Sarah is probably being stubborn, which is a good thing for all of us, because you want a stubborn author to just be opinionated. But I don't think she's a nightmare to work with. I have not heard from a single person who knows her directly that she's a nightmare. I've heard other things about other people, which I will not talk about, but I have not heard a single negative thing about Sarah. And she's almost like Kevin Bacon. I have too many 1 degree separations from her. So like, don't trust that. Okay. Just don't. Don't trust it. So, in my opinion, I think someone blabbed because it's a show that everyone wants to hear about, but it's not fully true. So, that's what I'll say about the TV show. Anyone else have a comment about that?
My question, when do we as a group think that we're going to start seeing something out of it? Like,
I think we're gonna start. I feel like we're gonna get something maybe post CC3 or like as far as like casting and stuff. Because I don't think we're actually getting a show until much later.
Yeah, agreed.
You're lucky if you see. I think next year we'll see casting stuff. I think
That's what I'm thinking.
what is that, 24? I think we'll see the show in 25. Because, well, I don't know how Hulu works, but traditional television requires you to have all your pilots in by now. So we would know by now what would be on the docket for this year, and they would be heavily working if they wanted it for next year, and they're not. So
Well, because
my guess is 20.
Sarah's focused on CC3 too. So
Yes.
Yeah, we'll definitely see CC3 before we see casting.
I actually don't even know if we'll see full casting. They might keep that pretty close to the belt. Because they don't.
But if we see any casting at all, it's going to be post CC3.
And what they will do if they're smart, if they have someone on that team that knows, they'll say Feyre and Tamlin before they'll ever say Rhys. They're going to hold on to that one close.
Oh, they're not going to get Rhys.
I think it wouldn't surprise me if they held on to Rhys until Callum met and like made us just like see it.
The other thing too, which is important to know for those of you that watch Outlander, Brianna was cast in the first season and you don't see her until season 3. So it would not surprise me if when they cast Rhys, they cast everyone else in the inner circle and they just don't say anything, because that is pretty common. They'll just lock them into a contract. So like that, there's a high probability that that'll happen. So just throwing that out there.
Also, it wouldn't surprise me if they hang on to casting for as long as they can because of what's happened with any and all of the fan casts or anything that's popped up. Like,
yeah,
it's not worth it for those actors to go through that, which is asinine and stupid.
It doesn't matter who they end up casting. People are going to be upset. Like, they're not regardless.
This is why I don't like to talk about fan casting at all. Like, this is why I don't bring it up at all, because it goes down a rabbit hole that is not healthy for anyone, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, the only person in my head right now that I can see as Rhys is the guy from Bridgerton. Like, he was so hot and sexy. I had literally, like, the Duke, I watched him and I was like, oh, now I know what to expect. But at the same time, it could be anyone, and I don't really care. As long as he and Feyre have chemistry, I don't care who either of them are.
As long as they don't whitewash everyone.
Yeah.
As long as they, that's where my issue is going to be. I could not tell you who anyone's going to be. Or
I don't think they will.
As long as they're not whitewashed.
I don't think they will, because of how particular, and especially because of recent projects in the entertainment industry. I just don't think I don't think they'll do that. But as long as they got chemistry, because I'm just going to be honest, I have seen shows where they have tried to do things and the chemistry is so bad that I'm like, why did you even do that? Like, you didn't pick the best actors. You picked what people wanted, and that was a mistake. Like, pick the best actors. Like, that's the way I look at it. I don't care what you look like. Rhys could be a blonde guy with dark skin, and I'd be like, what? They're going to dye his hair. It's going to be fine. Like, he could be a ginger, and it will be fine. They will dye his hair. Like, I don't care what they look like. I do agree with you that, like, there are certain characters, like, let me tell you, if Tarquin is not super dark, I'm going to be so mad. Because I have a very clear vision of what that man looks like in my head. Oh, if he is not that, I'm going to be so mad. But
his sparkling blue eyes stand out against it. Like, come on.
My God. Yeah. But that's why I don't really like to talk about casting, because I feel like, and people get really vicious. Like, one thing people forget, and I, as a reader, this really, really resonated with me. Rhys is described as pale in Acotar.
He has a moon white face that,
I mean, he's been underground for 50 years.
Yeah, and this man's is a little white.
But the best part about it is when you see him in Mist and Fury, he's not, and that left such an impression on me that I was like, he had been under the mountain for that long. But like
Ah.
his skin had changed. Like that was so impactful. And obviously as a TV show, it's gonna be harder to show that, but it really did leave an impression on me that like there was a change in how he appeared because of this experience. And it was cool. But anyways, that's all I want to say. Last thing I want to talk about the TV show, something that I think is fun. What is one thing you really want to see in the TV show, and what is one thing you want to see them change? I can start because I already know.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, you start.
I am very, very, very excited to see the High Lords in the TV show, because the entire book is in Feyre's perspective, so we don't get to see what happens under the mountain. And I genuinely, genuinely, genuinely want readers and viewers to hate Rhys when they watch this TV show. I don't want them to fall in love with him. Book Talk and the rest of the internet is going to confuse people, and that
In the first season.
in the first
Clarify.
season. In the first
There you
season.
go.
Okay, just to clarify. I want you to hate him. I want you to think he's a villain, because that's the Rhys I like. I like the confusing side of it. I also agree, I don't think the TV show needs a mask. Just like Last of Us didn't need masks, the TV show doesn't need a mask. So they can chalk it up to something else. They can say that the curse happened and that Lucian got his eye removed, and I would be fine with that. As readers, I know we'll all get a little annoyed that we don't see a fox mask, but it's, in my opinion, it could detract from acting and actually falling in love with Tamlin, which you want people to do. So, yeah. Anything else? Anyone got a good answer?
Do you want me to go?
I can go
ahead. So I think one of the things that I'm most excited to see is obviously any of the trials under the mountain. I think any of those are going to be like really cool, and you can do them really, really well.
Yeah.
But I also want to see how, with special effects, they do the pool of starlight. I'm very interested to see how they're going to pull that one off. But something I would like for them to maybe potentially offer or alter is giving us, even if it's just more, even if it's just one member of the inner circle for like a brief second at the very, very end, just like a tease. All I want is a tease. I don't even need Cassian. I would love Cassian, but I'm thinking like shawarma at the end of Avengers, like brief, very quickly, done.
Oh, have you never heard of my season 1 ending? Because that's like my favorite thing to talk about. I'll wait till the end.
Okay, I think you've told me.
Yeah.
So building off of Avery's, like it could be Rhys going to Moore, and like that could be the quick thing.
Yeah.
So what I really want to see, would be season 2. I want to see Starfall.
No, something from season 1, Caitlin. You can't skip to Mist and Fury. Something from season 1.
Who doesn't want to see Starfall?
I mean, we all want to see that. I want to see the wedding in Mist and Fury. Like, that is the thing I'm so excited about. I can't wait to see Rhys appear. Like,
Horde of Nightmares. Horde of Nightmares.
Yeah, there's so much in that I want to see.
I don't know. I guess, you know what? I would like to see the scene where Rhys sends her the music, looping back to that.
That's a good answer. I love that.
I really think it's a special moment, and I really hope they have to put it in. I really do hope that they do. As far as not putting something in.
I thought of one.
Share, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Well, for not putting something in, watery bowels. I would really I don't want anyone
peeing themselves
or shitting themselves. I don't want any that I can do without, and that's for all the books. I can do without that.
That's true. I would agree with you on that. There's a lot of puking and bowel movements happening in Sarah's books.
I forgot that Lucian puked in a plant.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, that was a very awful scene. But what I want to see is like the bog and the naga and all that stuff. I want them to be like Witcher level, like scary, like they need to be absolutely terrifying. And then also I mean, I'm sure we all have theories about Lucian's eye, because she does talk about how she sees it like moving around. And I know we have theories about him and Elaine and her being a seer and he potentially like seeing stuff with his
Yeah.
eye. So I would love to see them make that like a really intricate detail that comes back later. So
Yeah.
hopefully SJM is like being like, it needs to be able to do this so that when it comes up later, it'll be like full circle. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So when you guys read about Lucian's eye for the first time, did you guys like envision Alistair Moody from
1000%.
A little bit, yes.
1000%.
Only a little bit. But
I pictured the snitch because the way it's described is like a little ornately carved thing. So I pictured it like the snitch in his eye socket.
Yeah.
Well, the way that it like moves around.
I saw
like,
Mad Eye Booty.
Yeah, like that's what I.
But I mean, like, let's be honest. Our brains do weird things. Like the Midgard worm is not the Alaskan bullworm, but that's exactly where my head went. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, that thing is supposed to be like Game of Thrones dragons level scary. Like that thing is not supposed to be the Alaskan bullworm, and yet
That's what we all, yeah. A naked worm running. Yeah. So for anyone I also have a great idea for, in my opinion, it's a great idea for Throne of Glass. But the way I see season 1 ending and the way I want it to end is I want it to be Rhys bowing to Feyre, and then we see Feyre and Tamlin leave under the mountain, and they close off the mountain like they say they do. And then credits roll, and then we see Rhys winnow into the townhouse. So we see him in that tiny hallway where the stairs are, and all he does is turn, and you see all of the inner circle, and then it fades to black, and it says season 2. So like we don't hear any of them talk, but we just see like more with the wine glass, Amryn in the corner, like. And it gives us readers like, oh my God, but also as someone who's not a reader, you're like, this guy just winnowed into a tiny house. Like, why is he? And then it also leaves the mystery about the conversation with Moore for when he explains what happens. So,
right. And also it gives people who haven't read the books, they're going to be like, who are those people and why are they important?
I
like,
think so.
Yeah. And they also have the wings that Rhys shows. And so like, that's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm. I thought of another thing I want to see. Under the mountain, how you were saying you want to see the High Lords. I would love to see some scenes that are like Rhys's POV.
Yes.
Like obviously they can't get graphic because we find out later, but I just don't want his whole story under the mountain to be like told in the second season. Like I want to see some of it. Whether we see it in the first season or we see it as like flashbacks or something, or like nightmares in the second season, I think it's important that that's not like a spoken thing.
I also think, because as a reader, when you read in Acotar about what went down with Helion and the Lady of Autumn, it's a very interesting, quick way of telling. I will say, like, it took me a few times to really understand the impact of what was spilled in that moment because it's so, like, quick. But I do think it would be cool to give that hint to people as they are like, because Helion and Lady Bot like walk past each other, and he definitely probably kept an eye on her, and like certain things like that. Like it would be cool to see those small moments, even if it's very subtle, even if it's in the background. Like a perfect example is, as a reader of Harry Potter, in Half-Blood Prince, one of my favorite things I read was the chapter after Ginny and Harry get together. Ginny says, oh, I told everyone you have this like dragon tattoo, just like buy it, like it's fine. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah. And then in Deathly Hallows, when everyone shifts into Harry, the twins immediately take off his shirt and see if he has the tattoo, and they're like, oh, we knew she was lying. And that line is in the movie. Like you hear the twins, if you listen close enough, they do say like, oh, I knew she was lying, because it's a fun nod to readers. Like just little things like that I think would be cool to see. So
just need some Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's all I want. Okay, I'm gonna do some questions from Slido. Okay,
hit us.
This first one's funny because the first one is so funny because I brought this up to Avery. I called her on the way to work and I was like, just listen, what do you think of this? So this is somewhat CC spoilers, but not really. Feyre's death under the mountain and coming back to life sounds extremely similar to The Drop, talking about light, seeds, and predecessors bestowed. I actually think it's because of the pull, because this is the first time. So quick reference. Everyone who talks about The Drop always brings up the yielding and Aelin, which I totally get. However, no, there's not an exact example of someone literally pulling you back to life like Feyre under the mountain. So I don't know if anyone else buys that, but I do.
I'm good.
Okay.
I like
Okay, do all the High Lords have a beast form? And if they do, does Feyre have one?
So I believe that they might all have the ability to access one, but the only ones that we see are Tamlin shapeshifting.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have Helion at the end of Akawar, and we have Reese at the end of Akawar with their beast forms when they fully embrace that for the war. So,
and I think Feyre's beast form would be the one she sees in the mirror, but she obviously is not shifted into that.
right, which is very similar to things.
Yeah. A certain pack of devils.
Things.
Okay, so
somebody else looks like a certain tattoo, but that's okay.
Yeah,
It's fine.
exactly.
Everything's fine. We're fine.
Any theory on why Nesta resisted Tamlin's magic?
Delburn.
So there is a line in the beginning of Acotar that we have not re-referenced, and it could be just a throwaway line. It could be actually where it means something. It could be the biggest crack theory you've ever heard in your entire life.
Right.
But there is a moment where Tamlin and Lucian basically look at her and are like, your mother didn't tell you anything
Yes.
about this.
Thank
And
you.
part of you thinks, okay, well, mothers typically tell stories, like maybe
Right.
it's just like that train of thought, or her mom knew some shit and didn't share it. And she died before she could, because Feyre was very young when her mom died. So, do I think that the Archeron sisters are potentially descended from witches because their mother might be a witch and all this stuff? That is far beyond where I've gone with this. However, I don't not think that there's something there. Like the potential is there. I just don't know if we're going to readdress it or if we're just going to say Nesta is stubborn and has a mind with a wall of iron. An iron wall.
Yes, she does.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that they are a descendant of something. There's something in their blood. And I feel like they even say it later, if it's whether it's Silver Flames or whatever book, but I feel like the reason like it rubbed off on Nesta sooner because of her blood or something like that.
Yeah.
This is one of those examples, in my opinion, where it's very open-ended and I don't know if we'll ever get the answer.
Mhm.
Because I think if it was Crescent City or Throne of Glass, we probably would get the answer to this. But I think at this point, we're so separated from it, unless it's going to tie with Elaine, we might not get the answer. And it very well could tie with Elaine. It could be like a crochet thing or something. But at this point...
Why does the mother have a connection with Nesta? Why was Elaine Cauldron blessed? Why was Nesta able to steal power from the Cauldron? Like, why are those things
right
possible?
Yeah. And they're good questions to ask.
If they were just human.
And they're good questions to ask. I just wouldn't obsess over them because I don't know if we'll ever get an answer. But they are very... I mean, it's the same thing as every time I'm like, why is iron even brought up? Like, if iron's not a resistant, why is it even brought up? So, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
If Sarah was going to kill a main character, who would you want her to kill?
Amryn.
Yeah, she should have never been brought back.
Yeah, no, that I
stand by that.
Can understand now why
Yeah.
she's still around, but like up until this point, between Frost and Starlight and Silver Flame, why is she here?
I always knew she held a purpose to another thing, and
It's
that's
just
why.
annoying though. Like, especially because you're introducing other characters that can provide some of the same context and information that she could provide.
Yeah.
It's just not firsthand experience.
I think she will be traveling. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. The only other character besides Amryn, because I agree with that, one that let me clarify, I do not want to see this character die. I do not. But I think it's going to happen, or we're going to have a very long conversation. It's going to be Helion.
Oh, well, that's not technically a main character.
I think he's kind of a main character.
I do actually hope she does kill something, because that's part of the reason why Throne of Glass is better than Acotar, because it can't be that amazing if the stakes aren't that high, and if you're just going to bring everybody back, then what's the point?
I also
Like,
would like
I
for her
have to feel
kill-
pain.
I also would like for her to kill Baron, but like that just is like almost a given at this point. Like,
Yeah.
that man is dying.
Yeah. Look, either Eris is taking the High Lord's seat or Lucian is. One of them is. So let's
I think Eris.
let's pick a brother.
So Eris has always, since Aka War, given me early Acotar Rhysand vibes. Like, there is more there. I need to know.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know.
For sure.
I feel like Lucian might be the one. I think. I wouldn't be surprised if it's him.
Yeah.
I'm still on my crack ship High King Lulu, so I'm gonna just.
I just wouldn't.
Okay, we have a lot of questions.
She won't kill mates. I don't think she would kill mates.
No, I don't think she will. Okay. Let me see. Feyre, do you think she's a good painter or a bad painter? Anyone think she's a bad painter?
I think she's an abstract artist. The way that I'm reading.
Yeah.
I think the way it's described in the books, it's not the way Mad Schofield is doing it, but I do love Mad Schofield's portrait series that makes me want to believe that Feyre is a good painter.
Yeah.
I think it's abstract.
Okay, some of these are theories. Sorry guys, I'm not going to do the theories just because
we don't
have time for that. So okay, anyone convinced this is somewhat of a theory, but it is an interesting one because it deals with Amarantha, and we won't talk about this again. So anyone convinced that Amarantha could be Valk? No.
I think it's.
She's not bad enough.
I think that there are people from Highburn who are, but I don't think she's one of them.
I think we interact with a Valk being while in the series, but I don't think it's Amarantha.
This is an interesting. Someone said this is a dumb question. I actually don't think this is dumb because I think this is something people don't talk about, and it's interesting. Do you think that Feyre is actually pretty? And the reason they bring this up is because they always talk about Elaine and Nesta's looks, but not really Feyre's looks. Just curious, like, did anyone think about that? Like, does anyone have a thought on that?
I have lots of thoughts.
I feel like part of it is that when you start in this book, she is just like in survival mode. And I don't think anyone who has nothing and is starving to death and is living in like clothing that is scraps is going to feel like they're pretty, or is going to refer to themselves in their own mind that they're pretty.
Right.
So I think once she like eats food and is able to like sustain her body and then is able to get strong, I think absolutely. But I don't think in her POV, she would necessarily ever call herself that way. Because that's not, when you're in that kind of situation, that's like the last thing you would even think about.
I think, and this is going to sound weird, but I have always felt this way. There's two types of pretty in this world. There's complicated pretty, and there's just, this sounds bad, but it's plain pretty. Complicated pretty is like, if you aren't wearing makeup, you look like a totally different person. And that doesn't mean a bad thing. It just means you have portrayed a certain side of you, which honestly, like, again, there's no negative to either of these, but some women portray so much of themselves in makeup that when they take it off, they literally look like a different person. And, you know, that doesn't mean you're ugly when you take your makeup off. It just, you're different. And then there's plain pretty, which in my opinion is something that I think is more appealing because you are just more naturally confident with how you look. And I think you can put makeup on or not, but you know that regardless, you feel beautiful in how you look. I think Feyre falls under the plain pretty, where she just, if you really looked at her, you'd be like, God, she's gorgeous. But like in rags, kind of to your point, you probably wouldn't think anything of it. But her in a high lady dress and a crown on her head, you're like, holy crap, she's gorgeous. The same way, like, Nesta probably just looks like a bitch. And then when you put her in a whole outfit and everything, you're like, damn, she's a power walking queen. Like, it's a different... And I think Elaine is just cute. I think Elaine has always been cute. She's the cute sister.
When it comes to Feyre, I have the opposite opinion. I feel like Feyre is that complicated one. Like, when she's all done up, she looks great. But then when, you know, she's, like, kind of in her natural state, like, she's a little duller. But I think of Aelin as the natural beauty. Like,
interesting.
She looks great no matter what. yeah, that's my fault.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, and I think regardless, like, I do think the women are beautiful. I don't think they're necessarily all standard beauties. I just think, they're described pretty.
I think Feyre is pretty. I think Elaine is delicate and feminine and beautiful. And I think Nesta is striking. And that's how I would differentiate that for the sisters.
Yeah.
I like.
Someone followed up in here and said, I don't think Amarantha is Valg. Hybern might be. I actually don't think any of them are Valg. I think Lanthus was the only Valg we saw. So just in case.
I think definitively Lanthus is the only Valg we saw. I'm not going to completely discount the island of Hybern because of Branna and Dagden. There's something up with them.
Yeah, but I don't think they're Valg.
I don't know what it is, but there's something up with them.
There's always one tell when it comes to Valg. It's black blood. So, no. Okay. Does anyone think that Rhys was ever actually evil, or do you think he was always morally gray?
Morally gray.
Always morally gray.
I think he was morally gray. I think his father was actually evil.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. Let me see. Everyone is... Oh, that's not a question. That's not a question. Okay. I'm going to say this really quick just because this is going to bug me. So, first off, Lucien, someone said Lucien is literally the Adian of Acotar, and I hate him. He thinks he knows everything when he doesn't. Also, Elaine doesn't want him. Okay, few things. Number one, Elaine doesn't know what she wants. Elaine is literally Iliad of the book series. I'm just going to be honest. Elaine, think about it. Think about Queen of Shadows. Okay, think about Queen of Shadows. Think about the first time you read who Iliad was. Yeah, I got this. Don't worry. I got you. I got it for both of us. Okay. Iliad is literally, like, Elaine is literally Iliad. If you think about who Iliad was in Queen of Shadows, she's boring. Iliad is supposed to be boring. But you know what doesn't make her boring? The fact that you got her point of view in the next chapter. Because then you saw how smart she was and how manipulative she was. And that's what made everyone fall in love with her. Elaine is Iliad. Okay? So she doesn't know what she wants. The other thing, I am a huge Adian stan, so I'm just going to quickly say that he is a very complicated character, and you have to put yourself in his shoes, because you can't assume anything when it comes to Adian. Adian's situation is not normal, and so you can't put him next to Rowan and Dorian and any of them, because he had a very different growing up. Lucien also falls under that pattern, except he was essentially the redheaded stepchild of the family. Like, you're right. He was literally the kid that was his mother's favorite, but everyone else just beat him to a pulp. So I think saying that Lucien is Adian, you're probably right in the fact that they both have very difficult upbringings, and so they have certain characteristics that makes them different, but I don't think you should hate either one of them. I would challenge you to put yourself in their shoes. Now, you could be like me and really hate Lorcan, and that's fine, because we're allowed to hate a character. That's what makes books interesting. But I think lumping both of them together, and then it's yeah. Also, I hate to say this, but it's going to be controversial. Just saying you're a Gwenriel doesn't mean you need to say you hate Elaine and Lucien.
True.
I'm a Gwenriel stan, and I probably am more of an Lucien stan than a Gwenriel stan, but I also think that has nothing to do with those two characters. And I think at this current point in the series, the jury is still out on Lucien and Elaine. So,
shockingly enough, Sarah and I are the same but different on that.
Yeah.
It's just that I like Gwenriel more than I like Lucien, but I think like we just split.
Yeah. I also don't think he ever claimed her. Lucien did not claim Elaine. He panicked in the moment and said something, and then he has literally tried to backtrack every moment since. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Ooh, this is a good one, because this is a really interesting theory that people have after reading this book, which is, does anyone here think that Tamlin and Amarantha were mates?
So what are they saying? Like, this is like an example of a rejected mating bond?
Yes.
I could see it.
I'm not going to discount it entirely, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she was just desperate.
Yeah.
I think if Sarah really wanted to do it, we would know the answer by now. But I think because that has not been the answer, I don't think it's what's happening.
I mean, she was very clearly rejected by him, but like, I don't know if that's a rejected mating bond.
Yeah,
I think she's just petty. Like,
I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, she liked him when like she met, and she's like, oh, there's just a lot of ick going on there.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of ick.
Okay, last 2 questions. First one, someone asked well, actually no. I'm going to save these power questions for Mist and Fury because this is not getting into our conversation for Acotar and regarding Feyre's power. Okay, so last question, and I think you can explain this one, Avery, is can you explain how Feyre's mating bond snapped first? They are very confused. Quickly.
Okay. It's on page 400 of Acotar. What the thing that triggered it for me that I noticed was this quote, which is, Rhys's arms buckled as he fought to rise, and the blood dripped from his nose, splattering on the marble. His eyes met mine. The bond between us went taut. I flashed between my body and his, seeing myself through his eyes, bleeding and broken and sobbing. That right there is where I think that it happens. And then Sarah went through, and I haven't gone back and read this, but when I told this to Sarah, she went back through Acotar and looked at it. Something that Acotar has in common when it comes to a mating bond is this golden thread. A golden thread appears. Ta-da. That's the quick and dirty version.
Yeah. I think the thing is, like, and Avery and I went back and forth about like what justifies a mating bond, and it probably will require its own conversation, but
for sure,
as of right now it seems to be a golden thread. So anytime you see a golden thread, at least with Acotar, not any other series, that's what it is. So okay, cool. Well, okay, before we totally end, let me get the Mist and Fury schedule up because I don't remember. Okay, so Mist and Fury is going to be Friday, March 24th. So literally a month from today. Isn't that nice? We have a month from today. We will update you guys in Discord regarding the playlist and everything else. Avery and I are still behind on the podcast. We have not recorded Kingdom of Ash, nor have we recorded Acotar. We probably will before this Mist and Fury live, and we'll also record Mist and Fury. So we will keep you guys updated on that. Don't worry, we promise. And by then, the notes will then go on a monthly schedule, and that will be it. So I just wanted to update everyone on that. We will be doing other lives in between. We'll have another Theory Thursday. We will have another... we'll do quite a few things. So we'll play it by ear and figure out what makes sense for our thing. Reading schedule will come out next week. So Avery has it. We'll make it look pretty and everything and give it to you guys so you guys have the reading schedule. But thank you so much to Kate and Caitlin for coming and hanging out with us. We were very excited.
I've already put the next one in my calendar, so I will be there.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah. So that is that's what we got. So there'll be other things going on, but we're taking a little bit of a slower time with this read along. So it's been much needed.
We still don't have any information on CC3, so we're not rushing.
I'm not rushed at all. We are doing a recap for Akamath. We'll do for everything. So March will be Akamath. April is Akawar and Frost and Starlight, because we're just gonna do them together. And then May is Earth and Blood, and then June is Silver Flames, and July is House of Sky and Breath. And then I will watch her Akamath reread. I probably won't watch the full thing. I'll probably fast forward through certain things, but yes. Theory Thursday we'll figure out. I don't have that scheduled yet. So, but anyways, okay, well, let me get the music going so we can totally close this out. Oh, wait. Nope, wrong button.
Bye.
There it is. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay.
Are we clear to chat yet?
Bye, guys. think you're good. We'll give it like 2 seconds and then I'll stop.